Is true Star Wars gone forever? That is the question I want to ask to you all watching today. And don't get me confused with the question of, is Star Wars dead? Because a lot of channels focus on Star Wars is dead. Boba Fett was the last nail in the coffin, and now Star Wars is dead. I don't want to talk about it from that angle. I want to ask specifically, is true Star Wars gone forever? That's what we're going to get into, because there's just something different about those old movies when you go back and watch them again that the new shows don't have. And if they do, it's in small scenes, specifically the Luke Skywalker hallway scene. But we're going to get into it. We're going to talk all about why that is the case. And I want to hear from you guys down in the comments in the live chat. Let me know if you think that true Star Wars is gone forever. Well, I hope you are all having a fantastic day today. It was a little bit of a long day for me today, but got through it, and here we are today, finally doing another live show. I'm going to bring in my guests in just a minute. I want to catch up on some chats, and then we can dissect them a little bit more. First, we got to say hello to Phil McCracken. Here's a sip for you. Leia Rose, here's a sip for you. Spider-Man 96, here's a sip for you. Star Wars guys, here's a sip for you. Jig76, here's a sip for you. And Glenn Schroeder, here's a sip for you. One of those names that you saw scroll by was, in fact, Master Paul of the Star Wars guys. And our other guest tonight is Hawks Holocrons.
What's happening?
Hey, and here's a sip for you, Coffee on Korriban, for inviting us on here.
Absolutely. Cheers. You guys are always welcome on my show. I consider you guys both good digital friends.
Likewise.
Yeah, I'd love to meet you guys. Sure. Paul, I've met you, but Scotty, I'd love to meet you in real life. That'd be awesome.
As I come out the East Coast sometime.
Yeah. Well, I'm in East Tennessee. If you ever are anywhere near there,
it's going to happen some point, man.
Yeah. We'll go shooting or something if you come out here.
I'm down.
There's lots of that going on around here. Yeah. Anything new with you guys before we get into the topic of today?
Well, you were talking about how you had a long day. I had a weird day.
Oh, elaborate.
Okay, so I showed up to work today only to find out I wasn't even scheduled, because my work has something, respectfully, my work has something of a bad habit of copy and pasting the schedule. So I kind of had assumed that that's what they had did, because I've been working Mondays the past couple weeks, but I didn't. And it's literally like doing your laundry and finding $50 in there. That's how I felt.
Nice. What about you?
So recently, well, actually very recently, I've accepted a 100% remote from home job, which is cool, except the studio is mad small as it is. So I have like TV here, or sorry, monitor here, TV here, studio light. They're sending me 2 more monitors and a laptop, and I'm just like, I got no place to put this stuff.
But you have so much space behind you.
Yeah, I know. We gotta like knock a wall out or something over here. I don't know.
What is your background? I've never asked you.
It's a compilation of a couple of photos I found online. So there's like one over here and then one over here. The window is actually open. So I'm gonna eventually change that in and out. That's good. If you can tell, it's nowhere from Guardians of the Galaxy when they're like flying through the little eye hole. Basically,
I watched it once.
Ooh,
same. But honestly,
that's one of the underrated franchises within that franchise. Guardians of the Galaxy, the soundtrack.
Yeah, I want to give it a second chance. Yeah, as far as with me, I guess recently I have been enjoying my American privileges as a Tennessean, taking advantage of the freedom that the state offers. And I don't know how much YouTube wants me to go into that. I'll leave it there. It's a great state to live in if you want to enjoy some freedom.
Does that include a
hell
certain
yeah,
amount of bang bang pow pow?
Absolutely. America.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I've been up to. Spending a lot of time with my daughters, which my youngest daughter said her first two-syllable word today. She said kitten. She pronounced it Ditton, but that's close enough. I'll take it. How's it going, Black Dragon? And also Dat Boy Steve. And Arbiter. Welcome to all of you guys. Welcome to the show. All right, we're going to get into the topic of today, and that is the title of the show is True Star Wars Gone Forever. And like I said in the very beginning, I'm not talking about is Star Wars dead, because obviously we're getting new Star Wars content, and we can always go back and watch the stuff that we like that has already come out. But is true Star Wars the same gravity, the same feeling, the same seriousness, the epicness, the massiveness of the Star Wars universe? Is that gone forever? What the true essence of Star Wars is? That's what's gone forever. First takes in response to that question, Paul, go.
So is true Star Wars gone forever? Is it okay if I reinterpret that question?
Of course.
So it sounds to me like what you're asking is, are we ever going to get anything on the level of the original 6 movies and pre-Disney Clone Wars ever again? And for me, I don't think it's impossible, but I think it's very unlikely. Because obviously, Kathleen Kennedy, by many different channels, my own included, has been made the scapegoat for the problems that current day Lucasfilm and Star Wars has had. However, I've also somewhat come to the realization that Kathleen Kennedy is only a symptom of the real problem, that being Disney itself. Because even if Kathleen Kennedy did not work at Lucasfilm, even if Disney wasn't completely going woke, I still believe that Disney would at least attempt to kiddify Star Wars. So we're never going to see anything again like Obi-Wan cutting Darth Maul in half, like Obi-Wan cutting Anakin's limbs off and him burning alive. We're never going to see, say, for example, a Gamorrean guard get eaten by a Rancor.
Well, I'll counter that real quick, because we've seen that level of violence. If you're talking about specifically that type of violence and action, what did we see Mandalorian or Din Djarin do with the Darksaber?
You're right. He did cut that one guy in half. I will
add, there was no weight to that. There was no story or emotional weight to that, as opposed to the immolation scene with Anakin. Like, you are burning up inside as much as Anakin's burning on the outside in that scene. That is torturous. Like, there's more to that than just the violence of someone burning and their flesh burning off in screen. And that, I would agree with you. I don't know if we're going to get that again. That kind of seriousness in not just action, but in what it means to that scene.
And I think that comes from somewhat of a misconception that Star Wars has always been for kids and only for kids.
Right.
And that is not at all true. Yes, George Lucas did want to make something for the kids, but he also put in stuff in there that the adults can enjoy and understand more than kids better. Look, for example, at Return of the Jedi. You had the Ewoks, which, yes, that's very much for kids. But then you had the really, really amazing scene of the Emperor tempting Luke to the dark side, being like, "You want this, don't you? Take your weapon, strike me down." And sure, a kid's going to say, "Oh, wow, that's scary. That's, is Luke going to do it?" But the adults will appreciate that more.
Right. All right, Scotty, what do you think? Is true Star Wars gone forever?
It is a loaded question. I think for me personally, like, I'm waiting for the magic that the prequels gave me when I was, middle school or otherwise, or the rewatches, things like that. There's just epic battle moments and music that correlate along with it. There are themes in some of the newer sequel movies that a lot of people like. I mean, even moments like you could take the Holdo moment that everybody hates, but the visual effect of the outcome of what it did, one of the cooler moments in Star Wars.
It was
I wish we
beautiful.
could get a movie that was on epic levels like that just included, you know, their story. I agree with people, the creative levels on it. You brought Palpatine back, you know what I mean?
Right.
You could have brought back that Spectre and made it a Sith that was even older. Now you've included these Sith as the battalion ship names or whatever. Like, you didn't want to try and just pull one in, you know?
Right.
I think that's what they're going to need to do, man, going forward, though. If they plan to do another trilogy that carries on right after this, I think they need to bring in a big, you know, butterfly effect from the dyad or something like that.
Or do whatever you want and set it in 500 ABY.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's what I'd do personally.
Way ahead, man. Yeah.
And that's, you know, kind of tiptoeing on the edge of what they should have done with the sequels, which is not really the point of this stream, but it's so hard to get into that because, I mean, we all know how hurt we are, some of us. Although Matt
I don't
Cave
think we're gonna get that.
Matt Cave is single-handedly fixing the sequel trilogy.
and round of applause to him for that.
Absolutely. If any of you watching don't know, Matt Cave re-edited The Last Jedi, and he's also re-edited Rise of Skywalker and Force Awakens, but we haven't watched those yet.
Yes.
We'll do another watch party in my Discord server for those. Anyway, the first thing I wanted to kind of bring up in this topic is just the epic feel. There is an epicness to the old movies and even the Clone Wars, not just because of its length, but just what it means. Even the 2D Clone Wars, it was just there's a level of epicness that is not really capitalized on or utilized correctly in the newer stuff.
And I'm going to say, from my biased point of view, that epic feel, especially in the prequels.
Yes, absolutely. I watched Revenge of the Sith again just maybe a week ago, which I'm inclined to do pretty regularly. That's my favorite movie. But it has an epicness that I had forgotten watching through the Book of Boba Fett, as much as I liked it. It's just this is true Star Wars. Book of Boba Fett is Star Wars. I accept that in my head canon. But to me, now I'm starting to realize there's a difference between accepting something as Star Wars and something actually being Star Wars.
Yes.
And then it really hit me when I watched Revenge of the Sith again.
Dude, I mean, not for nothing. At least Kevin, wow, I'm butchering the name. Colin Trevorrow. Like, at least he tried to include Coruscant. He tried to include Jedi artifacts from Mace Windu, and you know, there were a lot of really good Easter eggs. And he went as far as to take a risk and introduce an unknown Sith Lord. Like, all this Disney Star Wars has done is cloning, and it's like, okay, but we know that's a thing, you know? So
right.
I enjoyed the sequels too. Like, I try to enjoy everything that is Star Wars because I know that the story is going to continue these storylines regardless of my like independent feelings on it.
Right.
And I think Star Wars is getting good at retconning things in a way that makes the whole story better or more positively received, I guess. They have a big task on their hands now. I think it's doable though with another trilogy. I think they can bring people back.
Yes. Oh, music just started playing.
Yeah, I'm trying to mess around with
nice.
it. We'll see.
I gotcha.
Some of them aren't bad. StreamYard.
Yes.
Yeah, I was messing around with them. I forgot I didn't have it on, but
yeah.
Everyone in the chat, if it gets annoying, let me know.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to say to what you just said, Hawk, yes, they do have like an absolutely Herculean task before them to try and bring as many fans as they can back. However, unfortunately, the truth is just some will never come back. And they have, in my opinion, very valid reasons for that. Perhaps because they hate Disney themselves. Perhaps because they just were burned too much by the sequel trilogy, for example, or the Gina Carano thing. there's just many that I don't think will ever come back unless, I don't think this will ever happen unless Disney Star Wars changes hands again.
Right. I agree. And I don't think, I think social media also, because it perpetuates the narratives and these storylines don't go away, people aren't going to forget about it. So if we don't get content, what's messed up is it has to be content that's related to the sequels that is acceptable. And that's going to be the only way that people are going to move past it. Because if there's nothing that these stories tie into, Luke, for instance, like if they don't just keep writing more and more and more BS that he has to go through to make that pulling yourself away from the Force, like that's a big decision. So I'm interested to see what they do, and I feel like they can do it, but it's just like you have put yourself in a hole with a lot of people.
Right.
And the fact that people are still talking about it now, this many years later.
And it's how far are they willing to go? Because there are solutions to make the timeline go into the sequels without offending too many people that hated the sequels, and have it do it correctly and make more sense and those correct kind of retcons that you were talking about. There's ways to do that. It's
and
just
I think they've already taken the first step of that by having Grogu not stay with Luke.
Right. It's just how far are they willing to go with that? Because they could just kind of skirt around the edges and then, we're in sequel time and not do it correctly. And that's, I think, what's going to anger a lot of people. Second thing that I was thinking about, as far as why that true Star Wars is gone, is the acting is just different. And not to say that the acting in the prequels was perfect, but there's a difference when someone is acting in an episodic show versus a movie or a trilogy. Like their character stays more consistent, that person knows the character better. And of course we have, Rosario Dawson just absolutely nailing the character of Ahsoka, even the mannerisms and stuff. But for the general characters, Peli Motto, Grief Karga or whatever, like those characters, they feel like TV characters. If you know what I mean. They contrast that with
Werner Herzog.
Does anyone in the movies,
even Esposito, like
but
people
I'm
in there.
Contrast that with people in the movies, even in the Force Awakens, like General Hux. Like that's a movie character. That's an epic character. There's just something different. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Or I saw someone mention him here in the chat, like Moff Tarkin in A New Hope.
Yes, absolutely. Let's read these chats real quick. Glenn says, I have the entire Marvel. So many good stories. The Tarkin story was a new Death Star named Tarkin. The Valiant story. Yeah. And that's a lot of the true Star Wars that I was mentioning earlier is books and comics. The older stuff pre-Disney. A lot of that true Star Wars might be gone forever. I don't know. I'm ready for it to be bought by someone else. Because 3 Star Wars continuities is going to be a lot. Yeah, I agree.
Not wrong.
It is what it is at this point. And even like Paul, you mentioned earlier with Kathleen Kennedy, I don't even think firing her would solve as many problems as some people think. No, especially right now. I think she's doing again, I don't know any back insider information or anything, but I think she's doing what she's supposed to as an executive producer. She's greenlighting the funds and greenlighting the people, and then staying back and letting the people that are doing the writing do the work.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think Kathleen Kennedy anymore is the true
cause
behind why Star Wars is what it is. I think it's Disney as a whole.
Right. And then Gamer says, have you seen all the small excerpts from the new Luke and Lando book that takes place in between 6 and 7? Some pretty crazy stuff. I have not, but that sounds very interesting.
I read it. It's awesome.
Yeah. I'll have to check it out for sure. Yeah, Rose Tico, lovely actress, bad character. Yeah.
This is what I was going to touch on with the whole acting side of it, is the fact that, like, we all know Daisy Ridley and John Boyega and Oscar Isaac can act. It comes down to script a lot of times, man.
Yeah.
Disney, Disney admittedly didn't know what they wanted to do with this until pretty much right up until towards the end.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
I don't like to use that as the argument because everybody will counter with, well, George this and that, he was writing as he went. That's all fine and good, but like, this is George. Like, he invented the stuff. These guys got to take a different approach. And so they're just trying to wing it, bringing in directors who are passionate about Star Wars, but they got to get some sweaties in here, man. They do.
Right.
They
and
really do.
There's no cohesion. It's really cool to see different directors direct different episodes. When you have an 8-episode series directed by 6 different people, even the way that the people are supposed to be acting in their individual cue, say that line a little bit more forcefully and stuff, that's going to create inconsistencies for those characters, which is going to make it feel like a TV show. And of course, people always say like, oh, we need to get Star Wars back on the big screen. We need Star Wars back in the theaters again. And I never really gave that argument much credibility. I never really listened to it a whole lot. But now I'm thinking maybe we do need a movie again. Like, there's only so far people can get with shows. And I feel like people are going to get burned out pretty quick.
See, for me, getting Star Wars back into the theater, it's honestly just for the experience itself. Because yes, it is cool to be able to sit down here in my own home and watch whatever Star Wars I want. Yeah. But at the same time, there is nothing like going to a theater, being in that theater atmosphere, seeing the big screen right in front of you, and then be absolutely blasted by the main title theme. I saw every single sequel trilogy movie in the theaters, and even though I don't like the sequel trilogy as a whole, at least until Matt Cave touched it, hearing that theme still was amazing at the beginning of every single one of those movies.
Yep. That's something I was thinking about before we went live, was even the sequels, as much as I don't like them, aside from the Matt Cave edit, they have a feel that the shows don't. They have a bit of that epicness. But we'll move on from acting. Short runtime versus overall content amount. This was one of my personal arguments in favor of TV shows a while ago, before Mandalorian season 2. I wasn't doing YouTube back then, but just talking to people, it would be, well, yeah, it's not a movie, but we're getting much more content in as far as overall runtime than we would if we were getting a movie. Like, we're getting like 4 or 5 hours worth of content for a TV show. That's more than we would get in a movie. That's 2 movies. But now I'm thinking, like, is it really all about the amount of content that we get?
Yeah.
Or would a movie be better?
For me, it's an argument of quantity versus quality. Because, again, look at Boba Fett, which, again, I fully admit I've stated multiple times.
I got to pause you. How could I have forgotten the most important topic of the year?
But my grandmother was watching this on World News earlier tonight.
All right. My official coffee on Korriban take. A guy slapped another guy. Why do I care?
That's literally what I said to my grandmother.
Seriously, I know Hollywood is rotten. I don't really get into that kind of like political Hollywood take on this channel a whole lot. I've got my own personal politics that I can talk about. I maybe will in the future. But I don't feel like celebrities should be given the moral superiority that they feel they deserve.
Yeah.
If you're a Will Smith superfan or a Chris Rock superfan, then maybe this is important to you. But I just don't care. and from everything I know about Will Smith and his marriage, it's like, you don't have any honor of your wife left to defend anyway. Like, what are you throwing a tantrum for?
Yeah.
So that's really all I want to say about that. If you guys have anything, you feel free to add.
I will add one thing here. If anyone does or does not follow Overlord DVD, he put out his own video talking about this, where basically he's saying that some people are saying that this could have been staged, but the point he makes is basically saying it doesn't matter, that it's that the whole optics of it, showing that you can get up and slap someone just because they are exercising their right to free speech, that is that's not good.
Right. And I'm all for it as a husband. I'm all for if we're out in public, my wife and I, and someone does something that is obscene or like extremely disrespectful to my wife. That's my duty as a husband to take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
A joke when you are a public figure is different. I feel.
On a humorous note, real quick, you said that very same thing, and then the punch him in the Clovis meme was born.
Hold up. I'm gonna punch him right in the Clovis.
I got yeeted.
Can you please send me that clip? I have my own version, but it's not as good as that.
I gotta mash up the Will Smith and the Clovis. I'm gonna punch him right in the Clovis and then Will Smith.
Yes.
All right. Scotty, you got any take on this at all? Not that it's super important.
I do not.
Okay, fair enough. All right, we'll keep going. Pineapple on pizza. I am in favor.
Yes, in favor.
But I'm not Italian, so
the pineapple on pizza thing, though, like very, very thin slices.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
I don't want no pineapple juice on that, Phil.
Yeah. My favorite toppings on a pizza is mushroom, pepperoni, and pepperoncini all together. Those three. Pepperoncini, the pickled banana peppers. But when those are on, it's so good. It's just acidic enough. It's not spicy or anything. It's really good.
For me,
that's fine. You can love them. Just keep them away from the pizza, man.
For me, the perfect pizza would be cheese stuffed crust, pepperoni, and mushroom. That's all I need.
Yeah. I was talking to my wife about this the other day. The internet? Yeah, I don't know.
And she's like, man,
I'm still here, right?
Don't tell him I told you that I put pineapple on my pizza.
No, she said the Wi-Fi was glitching out for her. I didn't know if she wanted to know if I was still live.
I didn't notice anything.
Okay, good. I'm alive. But I was telling her the other day when I was like 4, and I would go to my cousins and my friends' birthday parties, and they would have pizza. Whether I would choose cheese or pepperoni depended on how much pizza was there. If they were good parents throwing the party, and I knew they didn't skimp out, and they had 10 boxes of pizza, I would go for the cheese. Because they always have more cheese on the cheese than they do on the pepperoni, and it just tasted so much better. Because I knew I could eat multiple slices. If I went to a party and they had 2 boxes of pizza for 20 kids, I'm getting pepperoni because it's more filling. And I would do that at every party growing up. I still do that today, depending on how much pizza there is. Because I like the taste of cheese better, and I'll eat more of it. The pepperoni is just too high in salt anyway.
Are you taking notes, Phil? Are you taking notes?
Yeah. Yeah, barbecue pizza is great. Barbecue chicken pizza is really good.
No.
I was in, where
Buffalo
was
chicken
I?
pizza too.
I was in like Albuquerque or something, and it was a hole in the wall. Dumpiest place. It was in the middle of a business park. You wouldn't expect a pizza place to be there. But it was a hole in the wall pizza place. And they had sourdough barbecue chicken pizza. It was amazing. I don't remember what it was, but it was really good. It was just the sourdough crust. Just so good with the barbecue.
I want pizza.
I know.
Pizza's good.
All right. Back to the serious topics. I don't think I have any chats to catch up on. Do I? Jalapenos, Canadian bacon, and pineapple. Yeah. Will Smith, Chris Rock, and pineapple pizza. Alfredo chicken and bacon pizza. I think I've had that before. Banana peppers are always good on everything. And when I go to Jersey Mike's, I ask him to load up on the banana peppers. That's the best. All right, we'll keep going. Next thing I wanted to talk about is it seems like these shows are snapshots versus the panoramas of the movies.
What do you mean?
Make of that what you will. It's just something I wrote down. So.
Yeah, I'm confused on that one.
It's tough to tell. I know kind of what you're saying, because like with most TV shows, we're missing the time in between episodes, like all of that kind of filler, like empty space. Whereas a movie is a continual telling for hours.
Yeah, that and is, I guess you can add on to that the week that we have in between episodes doesn't really help. And imagine staring at a picture on your phone on Instagram. It's a 1x1 square of whatever you're looking at.
We're all forming our own opinions.
Right. Versus like, I don't know, your TV having some image on in the background, and you get to see this huge landscape of like Yosemite or something. And you get all that more detail and stuff. And it doesn't feel as cheap. I guess that's what I was getting at with this, but make of it what you will.
For me, okay, yeah. Black Dragon just explained it. Smaller universe in TV, wider universe in movies. Yeah. Thinking back on all of the shows that we've gotten, with the except at least since Disney has taken over Lucasfilm, and I'm going to kind of exclude Rebels here because I'm not very familiar with that one yet. Watch Animation Friday.
I got to get back into Animation Friday. I never answered you about that. I will soon.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. If there was ever a good time to do that, we're number one. We've swapped it up where we're no longer doing just straight blocks of 5. We're doing arc by arc now.
Okay.
So really, it's just their own begin, middle, and end. And this arc we're coming up, especially if you can, I'd like to see it come back on because we're getting into the Mortis arc, and I know that there's some spiritual aspects to that.
I've never seen the Mortis arc, only heard about it. So I've never seen clips of it or anything.
Right.
So
when we're done with this stream, you should go to StarWars.com and read the excerpt from Shadows of the Sith because it's ridiculous.
Ooh.
You will like it.
Okay.
I mean, well,
can you drop the link in the private chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, link me, baby.
Mm-hmm.
So, back to what I was saying though. The Mandalorian and especially the Bad Batch and Book of Boba Fett. These shows are like hyper focused on just one character or group of characters. Whereas set in the original trilogy, you had 2 different stories going on at one time pretty much in all of those movies, except Return of the Jedi kind of less so, but New Hope and Empire Strikes Back and a lot of the prequels too. There was story A, for example, in A New Hope, Luke learning about the Force with Ben, and then there was story B, Leia being captured by the Empire, being interrogated as to where the Rebel base is, and witnessing the destruction of Alderaan. In Empire, you had story A, Luke learning about the Force through Yoda, story B, Han and Leia escaping the Empire and falling for each other. In these TV shows, at least that I have noticed, there's no story A, story B. It's just one story in a straight line, which can be done well, but it feels less satisfying.
Right. And we do get a little bit of that, I guess, with Grogu, with Luke and stuff, but that's only for, one episode?
Yeah, that's not even close.
Right. It's just, there's obviously differences between movies and TV shows. But I just feel like if we continue down doing only shows, they can be the best shows ever, which I think Book of Boba Fett was really good. But it goes back to what the title of this stream is called. And it was from epic saga to decent television.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's kind of where it's going.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this too. That is my biggest fear for Star Wars. At least in the wake of Book of Boba Fett, and why, as of right now, I'll be honest, I have next to no hope for Obi-Wan, which is a shame because Obi-Wan's my favorite character. See, it would be one thing if Star Wars was just so atrociously bad, because if it's that's bad, you can at least drum up enough passion to hate it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's mediocre, you just can't bring yourself, you almost have to force yourself to care, which is kind of what I had to do with Book of Boba.
Right. I'm still holding out hope for Kenobi. I'm going to enjoy it either way. Whether I'm going to love it, that's a different question. But one thing I know I will be doing with Kenobi is really limiting my intake of Star Wars media on YouTube. That's something that I felt dragged myself and a lot of people down with Book of Boba Fett, as far as like the negativity, because you have a whole week to digest and pick apart and rip on and roast every little aspect of the episode. I mean, it's a 30-minute episode sometimes, and you have 7 days to destroy it. And if you watch videos that are all harping on it, your perception of that episode, of the next episode of the series as a whole, is going to go down. It's not going to go well. So that's one thing for myself, at least. I'm going to really limit how much I watch on YouTube of people covering the series. I may try the same. And because I wish that these would drop all at once and you could binge through them to form your own opinions. But people are so wanting to know what everyone else is saying, good or bad.
You would never make it to the end of anything without spoilers.
No.
To binge.
No. Oh, trying to wait until the last episode drops?
God,
yeah, no way.
Nope.
No way. Droid Herder, what's up? There's a sip for you. Good to see you back here. Did you start your channel yet? If you did, I'd love to have you on and help you with that. Let me know when you do.
Droid Herder.
Yeah, we were talking last time about, I think he was wanting to start his channel, and I said, that is a perfect name. Go for it.
I like the name.
Yeah, he says when Mandalorian came out, Favreau said they wanted to intentionally separate the series from the big tentpole movies. That's why they avoided using Williams' score. Absolutely, and I get that. And they've succeeded. It's different. But as far as like true nitty-gritty, what is the core of Star Wars? I don't know that it really has it as much. He says, hey, it'll be a while. I need to travel again between now and September. Well, you let me know when you start making stuff, because I will help promote you as much as I can. Speaking of promoting, I'm going to do some shameless plugging real quick. Guys, we are 3 subscribers away from our next giveaway. We are 3 subscribers away from our next giveaway, which is a mug, a shirt, and an AeroPress coffee maker.
Ooh.
So you guys let me know when you want to get other people to subscribe, everyone in chat, because we will be doing the 750 subscriber giveaway.
Nice.
For those items.
Congratulations.
We're so close. We've been like 5 away for like 2 weeks, but I haven't uploaded or streamed all that much, so that's why. But we're so close. Was there? Steve said something real quick that we can talk about real quick. Each has their advantages. Talking about movies versus shows. Series can go into more detail, but won't be as epic. Movies are epic, but can sometimes gloss over certain details. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree.
I don't think there's ever going to be a true compromise between the two, because if you try to go into such great detail in a movie, you end up with a 3+ hour movie. For example, The Batman.
Right.
Master Paul, though, you forget. We're about to get Ahsoka, Sabine, Ezra, and potentially Thrawn all in her show.
It's true.
So we talk about epicness, like there are some epic TV storylines coming.
You're right.
Leading up to a
potentially
a movie. That's kind of all what we want from what I hear from everyone. That's kind of what we're yearning for.
If all of this is
build this all up to an epic movie trilogy, whatever, establish the storylines now, so you can really go into detail, because half of what a movie has to do is establish itself. Whereas No Way Home, Spider-Man No Way Home, the third one that just came out, it didn't have to waste as much time establishing that, because all those characters and their individual storylines were already established in other movies.
True.
So it had free reign to almost the entirety of the runtime satisfy all those little loose ends. And so I think if they set things up in these shows, they could really take even just 1-2 hour movie and satisfy all those loose ends and have a massive payoff if they wanted to. But are they willing to do that? I don't know.
I think they need to do it.
I could see where that would work, but I can also see where that doesn't work.
Right.
You know what's funny?
Go ahead.
I think a lot of people forget that Jon Favreau had these scripts or versions of these scripts for Mando. Like this is the stuff he had back in college. So you can see the passion that went into the first season of Mandalorian and the plan he had there. He wanted to do the Western thing, but now he is being tasked to take that and what the Star Wars Lucasfilm vision already is.
Right.
Things like Boba Fett, things like the Ahsoka timeline.
Hey, Hawk, just to let you know, your picture froze on my end.
That'll happen sometimes. I don't know where I cut out, but Favreau now has to take his love of what he's doing and intertwine it into the Lucasfilm already established plan. And I think it's the crossing of these two plans that he's having trouble himself even trying to navigate. What up, X-Wing? But yeah. You can tell the difference between the passion pieces and then the like, okay, how do we make this work pieces?
Yes. Which I think
even like like Bryce Dallas Howard episodes versus somebody else's episodes, like they're much more received because you can feel that passion that she has. She's been around Star Wars. She's been around people in Star Wars. So it does take, I think, a specific kind of person to do this stuff.
Right. Yeah, Droid Herder says we're already at a point where people have to pay attention to all the peripheral media to keep up with some plot lines. Yeah, that's a good argument against that final movie.
Which, I'll be honest, the fact that you do have to pay attention to all that peripheral media, I am not a big fan of that.
Right.
I know.
I challenge, when did people stop doing that?
I never did to begin with.
Okay, because they've always been a big part of it, and I champion comics all the time because even though they're lower on the canon respect, like they are canon. They are.
You're right.
My guidelines in regards to that, and this was the whole debate that you guys had on Boomer Council about you have to go do your homework and stuff.
Well, which side note, Cash still references that.
Hey,
well, my example would be Black Chrysanthemum, right? I didn't know who he was before Book of Boba Fett, but I went and did the research because I wanted to.
Yeah,
it didn't have an impact on the show for me that I didn't know who he was. But seeing how people reacted to him and like, okay, this is someone I want to look into a little bit more and figure out his backstory. So that is good homework. I would say, like, I that's the reason we read comics. We want to know more about these characters and what they've been through and what their responses to different situations. We want to know that stuff, and that's why we go and do the homework.
For sure.
But yeah, I get it. If you have to do the homework first in order to understand, or if you don't do the homework, you won't enjoy, that's when it becomes a problem.
I totally agree. And I feel bad for the people that are like, oh man, I shouldn't have to go and read this comic, because where I'm coming from is like, where you're at, it's like, oh, who's this Black Wookiee? And like, wait, he's in Legends? What? He did he did this, and this. It's Legends. That stuff's not even canon, but you still get hyped about that character because they could use that. They could.
Right.
It's the same thing with like the retcon. Like everyone thinks retcon's a dirty word, but there's retcons that have happened that we love. So
like what?
Jabba the Hutt.
What?
There's a lot of
the original human
changes.
Jabba the Hutt.
Oh,
to the slug Jabba the Hutt.
Like for instance, we never knew what happened to
deleted scenes as retcons.
So we never knew what happened to Luke's hand.
No, in the original release of the movie, he was a human.
Oh, he was?
Am I right?
I think Scotty? You are. I think Jabba was originally a dude.
But that was a deleted scene that they then went and CGI'd Jabba.
We're talking about something.
You might
another story they tell that changes a story from the past. But I'm saying like a retcon where it's like, okay, so Luke's hand got cut off and it fell down through the shaft. We never know what happened to it. They did a comic where it was actually another Jedi who was there through the Force and claimed it. So and meets him. So I don't know.
Whatever. Or like Yoda's lightsaber getting smelted down on Coruscant.
I mean,
if you want to count
that, I'll give you was pretty cool.
But yeah, I get it. All right, moving on. There's something about those old movies. I said at the outset, I watched Revenge of the Sith again, and there's something about those old movies. I consider the prequels to be the
I was
original
gonna say
Star
we
Wars.
go to old movies, and I think the three of us are prequel old.
Yeah. I count the prequels as original Star Wars, and if people want to only count the 3, 4, 5, and 6 as old or the original Star Wars, and then everything else is new, fine. But that's Star Wars, at least to me. That's true Star Wars. The spirit of it is correct, but there's something about those old movies that is just different than the stuff we're getting now. Even Clone Wars, there's something different about it. I don't know exactly what it is, but go and watch. If you haven't watched any of the original 6 movies since the Book of Boba Fett came out, and you watched that, go watch one of them. How does it make you feel? You're going to notice a difference, not just in nostalgia, because obviously they're nostalgic and they're going to hit us that way, but just how do those stories hit you? You'll sit there, in the case with me with Revenge of the Sith, I'll sit there the entire 5 hours because I watched the Ultimate Edition. It just hits you different. I don't know.
Absolutely does.
Yeah, I remember the big battles and stuff. Like even the big battles in the sequels, a lot of that stuff was very dark.
For me, it was seeing the lightsaber ignite for the first time in Phantom Menace, and then seeing this dude pop up for the first time.
Yep. And then the music and everything. Yeah, there's just something. Everyone in the chat, let me know, what is it about those old movies? Like, what is it to you that you guys think in the chat is different about the old Star Wars, the pre-Disney Star Wars, that is missing? It's really hard to pin down. And that's why I said true Star Wars, because there's some kind of taste to it that is different. It's very hard to explain. That's
It is, man. And maybe it's just cinema in general, because I remember, like, on holidays, Christmas time, it was tradition. It was Star Wars or it was Lord of the Rings, depending on the year or which one was coming out.
Right.
And you just get back to that big, holiday movie release type thing.
Yeah. And speaking of Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit versus the Lord of the Rings, the Peter Jackson trilogies, the same way. Just something different about them.
Yeah.
And you can like them. I'm not saying you can't. I really enjoyed Book of Boba Fett. I loved it, but it doesn't taste the same. I don't get it. Yeah, it was innovative, which you could argue so is the whole thing with the volume and everything they're doing now.
The technology that they're using for this new stuff really is amazing. Like, I know people have knocked the prequels for their quote-unquote overuse of CGI, when in reality they use actually a lot of miniatures, including what we have in the background here. But the volume that they're using on Mando and Book of Boba, I think that is like the best possible marriage that you can have between practical effects and CGI for these type of shows, because there's just certain things in Star Wars you have to use CGI for.
No one watching any of these recent shows gets any kind of idea that this is on a soundstage at all.
Nope.
You don't feel that. You don't notice it. Even if you're looking for it, you don't see it. I've tried watching it with knowing, okay, this is in the studio somewhere, and you can't pick it up. It's crazy how good it is. Droid Herder says, as someone who grew up with 4, 5, 6, that's what my generation felt about the prequels. Although I personally love them, I had to accept that Lucas wanted to try a different feel and look. And maybe the reason that the prequels aged better than the sequels will is because it was still George Lucas. I'm sure you guys have heard the argument that the Phantom Menace was pure George Lucas, even more so than the original 3 films, because he had technology constraints or whatever. But the Phantom Menace, it was just him, the CGI technology, and he got to make the movie that he wanted. And then of course he had to take Jar Jar out, and then in 2 there was more studio constraints and stuff like that, whatever. But maybe the fact that the prequels are going to age better, or did age better than the sequels will, is because it was still George. Maybe that's why a lot of people got over it. I don't know.
I think it's going to be really tough for people who are going to be discovering Star Wars for the first time to compare the prequels to the sequels. I think that's going to be impossible. It's different worlds.
Yeah.
And I'm going to recommend a video for everyone to watch. It is called, I'm actually going to put it in the chat as soon as I find it. It's called the Star Wars Anti-Trilogy.
That sounds interesting. I don't know what it is.
Dude, could you imagine if George Lucas could do 4, 5, and 6 now the way he did 1, 2, 3?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
Not that I would ever want anyone to remake.
Yes,
4, 5,
I'm just
6.
saying, like, in a what if Visions type scenario, like, can we get some Visions stories in anime of the Obi-Wan and Vader fight? Like, I would take it.
Yes. But basically, the Star Wars Anti-Trilogy, this video I'm putting into the main chat, I just put it in the private chat. The whole point the guy makes is that, especially with The Force Awakens, Disney and specifically J.J. Abrams went out of their way to make that movie, The Force Awakens, and therefore kind of as a domino effect, the other two, as basically do the opposite of what George Lucas did with the prequels. Because again, they were operating under the complaints of they used too much CGI, too much stilted acting, and they wanted to do the opposite of that. And what you get with is a trilogy that is anti-Lucas and therefore anti-Star Wars. And of course, they explain it far better than I do.
I'll definitely check it out. That seems very interesting. I didn't even hear about that before.
X-Men liked it a lot, so I'm probably gonna pass.
Shout out. Well, I got to give a shout out to Lord Crit because he's the one that turned me on to that movie, to that video.
Oh, well, if Chris says it's all right, I might check it out.
All right, last little topic. As far as the structure of this show, rewatchability. How many times have you gone back and watched either The Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett? Aside from maybe watching it 2 or 3 times when the episode dropped.
Once.
0 for me. I have not gone back and watched a single episode aside from Mandalorian 16. It's the only one I went back and watched, and it was maybe 2 months later after it dropped.
Yeah. Like, I'll be honest, I'm actually planning to go back and rewatch Mando, and that's going to kind of be the topic of not this coming week, but starting next Sunday. What Sunday is that? It is Sunday the 9th and 16th. Those 2 Sundays, it's all going to be about revisiting The Mandalorian, because I want to go back and see, especially in the wake of Book of Boba Fett and how I feel about that. I want to go back and see whether or not I even still like those shows, and discuss kind of in hindsight what works for that show with me and what doesn't.
Yeah, do they live up? Was it just something so new and hyped?
Yeah,
that we loved it at the time. Do they still hold up now? I can think of a couple episodes off the top of my head that I don't think hold up.
The Frog Lady one, for example.
The Frog Lady one, but for me, my least favorite episode was the Prison Break one with the brother and sister Twi'lek.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like that one at the beginning. But yeah, it's interesting to think, if we go back and watch it now, does it hold up?
I don't think I've gone back to rewatch Mando. I mean, I've definitely seen every episode of every show at least 2 or 3 times. And not because I watched them like the day after repeatedly, but I went back midway through most of these seasons and just binged the first half to get prepared for the finale and episodes right before the finale. But I'm with you on the rewatchability. It's like, are there enough little Easter eggs, enough little name drops in here? Are we gonna see the brother sister job huts again ever?
Right.
Or what's gonna make people go back and find these shows
here's
again?
Something I said in a video. It's one of my most popular videos on the channel. It's got like 1,300 views or something, which is pretty crazy for a video that's not a short. But it was like, what is it about Star Wars was the whole point of the video. What keeps drawing us back? Aside from, that separates it from other franchises. And one of the things that I was talking about was the emotion in the characters. Emotion and character development is memorable. Action is not memorable. It's got to be something really, really epic for an action sequence to stick in your brain to make you go back and watch it. The Holdo maneuver stands out in your brain because of how epic of a move that was. Darth Maul igniting his lightsaber is epic, so you go back and watch that. The lightsaber fights, the duel on Mustafar and in the council chambers at the end of Revenge of the Sith is so epic that it makes you go back and watch it. But aside from that, most lightsaber fights are not that memorable. It's the emotions that bring you back. It's Qui-Gon dying, and his last words are like, he is the chosen one. It is Padme dying of a broken... It's the emotion and the character development that brings you back, and I feel like these shows just don't really have enough of that.
Speaking of lightsaber fights, I think the one lightsaber fight, or two lightsaber fights, at least for me, that managed to balance the emotion and the action is Obi-Wan versus Maul on Tatooine in Rebels, and Luke versus Vader in Return of the Jedi. Like, Luke versus Vader, I still, even to this day, say that is my favorite lightsaber fight of all time. From the action standpoint, I think it's the perfect blend in taking the saber combat of the original trilogy and almost evolving it to the point of what would become the saber combat of the prequels. Like, it's not completely unbelievable and acrobatic yet. Thank you, X-Wing. But it's still...
Yes, Queen.
I knew you were going to play that. It's not completely acrobatic like in the prequels, but it's still very hard-hitting, very fast-paced. It's very evident that Luke has increased in his skill from Empire Strikes Back, but at the same time, there's also an aspect to it that I haven't seen in any other lightsaber combat, and that is the psychological warfare of both the Emperor and Vader trying to turn Luke to the dark side, and Luke having to fend off all of that, and for a time giving in after, the famous line of, "So you have a twin sister."
And then, the fight between Maul and Obi-Wan in the Phantom Menace and with Qui-Gon Jinn too had a little bit of that, the mind games that Maul was playing.
Right.
Like, look, I just killed your master. You really think you, a Padawan, are gonna beat me now? Like, come at me, bro.
Palpatine manipulating Anakin while Obi-Wan was unconscious, getting him to kill Dooku. Like,
leave him or we'll never make it.
Yeah.
Palpatine playing possum against Mace Windu, luring Anakin to do what he did. And then, of course, the Obi-Wan versus Maul fight in Rebels, where Obi-Wan finally kills Maul. Everyone knows the symbolism behind that, why they take, the different poses that they do, and the fact that it only takes 3 moves for old man Jedi Master Obi-Wan to finally defeat Darth Maul, who is a broken man by this point.
Yeah, there's the emotion behind it. It's not just action. Action is a dime a dozen. You can go watch a $50 million budget action movie and you're not going to remember it at all. That was what I said in that video a long time ago, is just action's not memorable. Emotion and characters are memorable. Specifically character development, because we've had some good characters, but as far as character development, is there really enough to bring us back to watch these shows again?
Right. Compare that again to, as you just said, you watched Revenge of the Sith, the character development of Anakin continuing down that dark path, committing to the dark side, and finally, at the very end, he's lost everything, but now he's the Vader that we know of the original trilogy. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's all I had on my list. I think, is true Star Wars gone? To sum up and answer the question finally, now that we've kind of talked through it, not quite. I think there's still hope. There's still a chance for stuff to capture the taste of Star Wars, but it's not easy, and I don't know if with the current people that they have on projects, if they can or if they will. I don't know if they're willing to do that. That's
where I'm at with it too. Nothing is impossible. It's a matter of how likely it is. And for me, it is extremely unlikely we're ever going to get anything like the original 6 movies or pre-Disney Clone Wars ever again.
Right.
Droid Herder said something earlier that kind of sums up some of what how I feel about this fandom anyways. Like, George said that he felt trapped and that he did the same thing. Or so if he did the innovative thing, people griped. If he did the same thing, people griped. That's why he said he walked away from it all.
Right.
I am not taking anything away from George, but Disney doesn't need the type of people who are going to act that way emotionally. They need the people that are just going to come in there. George, just do your thing, man. Who cares what the fans think? And no offense to fans, but what we think doesn't matter. And here's the counter to that. Where they mess up is they are telling us they don't care. They need to just create story, and if there's backlash, do their best to try to right that ship. But they're able to now go online and just fan flames like they have been doing it. All of these random Rian Johnson things. Like, if none of that was involved, the hatred I don't think would be as passionate.
And in the name of George, do not overhype your show because it might not deliver.
Yeah. We don't need to hear it's all killer, no filler. It's
Right.
going to be, you're going to be on the edge of your seat. No, just say, here it is. It's coming out.
Yep.
Maybe a trailer or two,
because
but let us draw our own conclusions.
Because we're going to get the same product either way. At that point, it's already in post-production. There's nothing really that's going to be done to change it. You saying that it's good or bad is not going to have any impact other than negative on how we view the show. We're going to get the same product either way.
The creator telling me how they feel about me and how I feel, like, that was never a part of the deal, man. Like, you just make the stuff. I watch the stuff. You keep making the stuff that you like to make, and how I feel about it should have no effect on you and your enjoyment. And if it does, like George, maybe it's time to walk away, man.
Well, it's a Mongolian barbecue. The chef will bring something out. And you try it and you're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Bring me more. They bring something else out and you're like, yeah, that's, I don't know about that. And they're like, oh, that was duck liver. Don't mind. We'll bring something else out. They'll just keep bringing stuff out and you can taste it. And if you don't like it, then just don't eat it.
And another deeper side of that is, like, as a creative, if you feel like that, you are going to change the way you create things on purpose to make them more well accepted. Yeah. So what are you gonna do, man? Like, these people are either sacrificing their creative ability to go and do the Lucasfilm thing and put their head down, or they're being forced to walk away from projects. And I think Patty Jenkins is going to be like one of the first people that's like, no, listen, like, if I'm doing this pilot thing, I want to do it my way, but it's got to be like the Star Wars right way too, I don't think she's going to make a BS Rogue Squadron movie at all.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the days are pretty well past us of us getting terrible Star Wars. But is it going to be the great Star Wars that we all want?
I don't think you can get back to that point. It's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah, it's...
Maybe Filoni start making movies and he, can pull some of that magic out of somewhere, but...
Right. I don't know. Yeah, we'll start to wrap up, I guess. I don't really have a whole lot as far as structure of this topic and whatever, but I guess any final thoughts on this topic and specifically? Whatever. Blech.
For me, it's just a matter of, do I like it or not? Like, at this point, I don't think things are ever... Like I said, I don't think it's going to get back to the way it was before Disney, but I think this is the hand we're dealt, and to some degree, we have to either learn to like it or walk away. And for me, I want to like it, and that's how I'm going to judge it from now on. I've tried to do that before, but even more so, it's going to be a case of, do I like it or not? And I'm just going to go, I'm going to do like you, somewhat Coffee on Korriban, and I'm just going to go with my gut instinct. And admittedly, I'm going to take some advice from Coach on this one, who said, if you can't decide whether or not you liked it, you probably didn't.
I didn't hear him say that, but that's,
I say watch it again.
Yeah. Watch a reaction from someone you know will like it and know the things that made it good, and then watch it again.
Yeah, it's like just like what you like. I feel like a lot of times, even when I hear people say, you know, if George could make it now, like, I don't know, would he still be able to tell stories this many years later that don't take away from any of that stuff? It's like, I don't know. Eventually you have to evolve the Force. I think eventually you have to do stuff like the dyad. You got to come up with concepts like this, dude. You do.
And Spider-Man 96 brings up a good point. He says Star Wars was never perfect. Perfection was never the point. Absolutely. The originals are clunky.
From a certain point of view.
The prequels are clunky.
I'm over here liking the High Republic,
but the stories are pure. The stories are so good. And I keep going back to this. I've said it. You guys probably all know. I've said it way too many times. Star Wars, for me, I view it as a distant history. Like, this is stuff that happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And whether it's a show or a comic or a movie or an animated show, it's just a different retelling of that story. So I don't try to get caught up on the little details of like, oh, this acting was bad, oh, this CGI was bad. That doesn't matter to me, because that's what the storytellers had at their disposal to tell the story. The story is more important to me. Like, if you're watching I don't know, Saving Private Ryan, you could get into like, oh, well, that actor didn't say that line very good. It's like, well, it's telling the story of World War II, of the storming of the beaches on Normandy. Like, that's what's trying to capture, not perfect acting. If you guys get what I mean at all.
Yes, absolutely.
So for me, those little details are less important than the story. And so, like, who cares if the lightsaber fights are clunky in episode 4? Of course, that's what the storytellers had at the time. Who cares if the CGI in episode 1 is bad? That's what the storytellers had at their disposal.
We'll see, but then now you kind of make it sound like, oh, isn't that adorable? Like, look at them trying to do their little thing over there.
Well, yeah,
I guess you know, with the technology,
it.
You can do so much more. I get that, and I've introduced people to the old ones first. It's kind of hard for some people. Just, you know, it's a fantasy nerd thing. It just is.
Right. Yeah, and of course there's that aspect of it, but I guess what I'm trying to capitalize on is Star Wars is not perfect. It's not going to be. And I can accept the different mediums all as Star Wars because to me the overall story is more important than those little quality or storytelling differences. So I guess I'll leave it at that. As far as watching shows going forward, like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Andor and Rangers, I guess Rangers is canceled. Never mind. But the shows going forward, as far as watching them, maybe I'll have the opinion of they are not going to be true Star Wars. They are never going to rival the prequels or the originals or even Clone Wars. I'm going to have to accept that. But can I enjoy them? Can I accept them as general Star Wars? Yeah, whatever. I had a joke in my head, but it didn't pan out. Never mind. Probably just going to be some engineer. Yeah. Not Joris Sabayoff. I don't know. Let's see. Grand Admiral Gamer says, before y'all go, let's speculate for a second. What character do you think Christopher Lloyd is going to play in Mando Season 3? It'd be cool if he becomes as Joris Sabayoff and we start setting up Thrawn. Absolutely. That would be dope.
It would.
Do I think so? No. The way that they are kind of going about things, if in fact they are going about things to lead up to Thrawn, is not going to be beat for beat with Heir to the Empire. It's going to draw inspiration from he's going to be a pit droid. I don't know. I don't think they would actually go for it with having him be Sabayoff. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it would. I think if anyone was going to be Kaboth or Sabayoth, however you say that, I think if anyone could do it, it would be him. But at the same time, yeah, I don't think they're gonna put Sabayoth or Kaboth in here. I think if anything,
but we got Tantus.
We did, We did.
Is that this? Now, is the Bad Batch at the same time as Mando?
No, Bad
Batch is right after Order 66.
Right. So I think if we see him, that's where we'll see him, is in animated Sabayoth. So I don't think Christopher Lloyd's playing him. But
yeah.
An X-Wing, I think may have brought it up first, but I'm jumping on the train of like, it would be cool if he was a Santeca or part of like the Lord Santeca clan, because or even like a Chirrut Enway type, I'm one with the Force. Just a follower.
Little less Eastern mystical and more of I don't want to say Maz Kanata, but just someone who's aware of the
old
Force.
Mando. Old Mandalorian that survived.
Oh, and old Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I get you.
Man, just have him in a cave on Mandalore, eating rats or something.
Hey, he could be the guardian of the living waters of Mandalore Din Djarin has to go bathe himself in to make the armorer happy.
Yeah. That would be dope. I'll go something in that vein, or if he is something to do with the Force, not a Jedi, someone who's aware of the Force, but has always been like has the potential to be strong in the Force, but has never given themselves over to the Force because of the responsibility that it would take on them. That could be a cool character. Someone who's like I know about the Force and I'll tell you about it, but I've never delved into that because the Jedi got too prideful in their self-righteousness, and the Jedi got too focused on their power. I don't want to go down either of those paths. Like that, I think that could be a cool character. Whether that's going to be this Christopher Lloyd character or not, I don't know. But I just thought of that. Could be cool.
Or imagine this: he's going to reprise his role as Commander Krug from Star Trek: The Search for Spock, and we're finally going to get a Star Wars Star Trek crossover.
So that one.
All right. Last final thoughts, and then we'll wrap this up.
I'm good.
We covered a lot, man.
Right.
Thanks for having me.
Any of you guys have anything coming up that you want to shout out?
Well, I think I'm going to start a gaming stream as soon as this is over and either play Skyrim or Jedi Fallen Order. Not sure which one yet. But, of course, Tuesday Night Trek is tomorrow. And then Animation Friday this coming Friday. We're getting into the Mortis arc. And then this coming Sunday, as I've probably already mentioned, my friend from work, his name is Tyler, and he's been sort of the resident Harry Potter expert. Anytime I talk Harry Potter, I call him in. He recently just saw all 9 Star Wars movies for the first time. So I'm going to have him on the show Sunday, and he's going to talk about what it was like to see these movies for the first time.
Nice. I am just putting in the chat. Well, keep talking. I'll type it out.
I'm trying to do gaming and theory on my channel. So a lot of newer games coming out. I'm going to be playing. I just acquired Marvel Avengers, so I'll be playing some of that on my channel.
Nice.
Yeah.
I just put in the chat Paul's gaming channel. So if you're not subscribed to that, go ahead and do that. Even if you don't like games at all, just give him your subscription because it means a whole lot to someone and it costs you nothing. But
I'll be talking about Moon Knight too when that comes out, and I'm gonna see Morbius in 2 days. So reviews on that stuff.
Nice. I'm trying to get yours, Scotty, real quick. Talk about something.
Oh, this wasn't planned, but I think me and Paul kind of have the same.
I think we do. I literally. So funny story. I got this hoodie on base at Fort Jackson when I went to go see Michael, which by the way, he's doing good. He's in AIT now. I believe he should be getting his laptop at any time. But anyways, it was really cold down there when we went to go visit him, and I came completely unprepared. So as soon as the family day ceremony was over, we went into the base exchange, which is basically the military version of Walmart. And I found this really nice, really soft jacket, and I bought it. It was light blue. I thought I would look good in it. And Dad made a joke saying I looked like Mrs. Doubtfire. So the next day, I went back. I basically gave that jacket to Mom because I thought it would look better on her, and went into a GameStop that they had in the exchange and got this.
Nice.
All right.
Wait, no, not this one. This one I got for Christmas. It was a Boba Fett one that I'd gotten.
This was Christmas for sure.
This was I don't know. My dad was in town and we got matching shirts. It says world's best dad.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And hey, Hawk, I might need your help with something real quick offline.
Yeah.
I would call Matt Cave helped me with this on last time, but I think he's in bed now. Can you help me with getting my Elgato capture card working with Streamlabs?
Maybe. I don't own one, but I might be able to help you out.
Okay.
All righty. Well, that is going to do it, everyone. Make sure you subscribe to Hawk's Holocron and Master Paul. And yeah, like I said, subscribing costs you nothing. It's a little button that you tap. If you would be so inclined, tap the like or dislike button. It really doesn't make a difference. Tap either one. And we are, again, so close to 750 subscribers where we will have another giveaway of a mug, a t-shirt, and a coffee maker. The only coffee maker I own, the only coffee maker I want to use.
One last thing I got to plug before we go.
Of course.
Let me pull up my calendar real quick. Tuesday, April 12th. Usually on Tuesdays we have Tuesday Night Trek, but not on April 12th. Instead, we are going to be having a special chill stream on the main channel celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the Star Wars guys. And of course, both of you guys here on the panel are invited.
Sweet. Awesome. Keep us updated. Everyone that has watched, thank you very much. I appreciate all of you guys. If you've been here from the very beginning, I really appreciate your time. May the stash be with you, and I will see you wherever I happen to see you in the galaxy.